What's going on, guys? Tyler Smith from TopSoundDesign.com here. So welcome to our first video. This is going to be about blank canvas, setting up your session, basically not knowing anything about Pro Tools. So you're going to see this pop up when you first open Pro Tools. We're not going to do create session template right now. What we're going to do is create a blank session. Here we have bwf.wave file, which is what we're looking for. We're going to go with 24-bit for editing purposes, even though it's going to be knocked down to 16 when we print it, if you're going to CD and whatnot. But for right now, we're going to do 24. All right, and sample rate, we're going to do 44.1. That's just because to reduce the load on my computer. I'd normally do 48, but since I'm recording, 44.1 is going to do just fine for now. And I'd suggest 44.1 starting out anyway, because like I said, it's less of a load on your computer. Most of the time it's going to be knocked down anyway, depending on what you're doing. So for input and output settings, I normally do last used just because I do the same kind of sessions every time. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you're starting out, that's going to be default. So let's hit OK, get on into the session here. Okay, so it's going to ask us to save the file. So let's just do tutorial and save it on my Mac external. And it's recommended to have one of these hard drives, not a flash drive, but a hard drive when you're doing these Pro Tools sessions, because that's what Pro Tools runs out of. Let's see, I guess we can just save it like that. Don't save that previous one. Alright, so you're going to want to load your session up like that. Get it full screen here so we can see what's going on. Alright, so this is what Pro Tools looks like from the very beginning. So just going left from right, let's see what we got here. So we have these different modes, which is going to be important in editing. But for this purpose, we're just going to keep it on grid. That's going to be in a future video. For these are what's equivalent to smart controls. So let's just put it on the smart tool, which is all three of these. And I'll get to that in a later video also. Let's just keep it on that because it's what I find to be the fastest process. Here we have tab to transients. You just keep this where it is for now. I'm going to explain this all at a later date. Automation, timeline and edit. All this is editing. So keep that for recording. I'm just trying to get you guys to where you can start recording right off the bat. Alright, so here's what it shows in the transport. So let's just do bars and beats, which is the go-to for that. And moving on, we have grid mode. So we're going to keep grid on, which is these little lines here you're going to see later. That's also for editing. And pre-roll, post-roll, fade in, we're going to keep those off for now. Okay, so first thing we got to do is go to our setup. And let's go to our playback engine and make sure it's on your interface or whatever you're using. I have a Scarlett 2i2 interface that I'm using right now. So make sure it's on whatever interface you have going, because that's what you're going to be hearing back from and recording at. In buffer size, I just keep it at the max you can run. My computer can run 1024 just fine. Ignore errors, minimize additional I/O latency. I always have it on that. And we won't worry about dynamic plugin processing yet or video engine. So let's hit OK on that. Alright, so now I know that I'm recording through my interface and I'm hearing back on my interface also. What we're going to do now is we're going to pull up our first track. And to do that, the shortcut is Shift-Command-N. And it brings up this window. Or you can also double click and it'll bring in the last default setting you had, which is an audio track. So let's go ahead and delete that and let's do our shortcut Shift-Command-N. Okay, so we have create the number of tracks. We're just going to do one. Feel free to do however much you want. When you're on the big sessions, you 24, but for this purpose, we're going to keep it at 1. And here we have the mono or stereo setting. So if you have basically one mic set up to your interface, 2 mics if you want to record. Say you're just doing a guitar track in mono, then you want it in mono, obviously. Say you're doing a fancy stereo pattern mic setup on your acoustic, then you're going to want to click stereo. For now, we're going to do mono, and this is going to be an audio track. Here's our options, aux input, master fader, and all these. I'm going to get to these in a later video. But for now, audio track, and in samples, and create. Okay, first thing I do is rename it. So it's going to bring up this little edit window. If you double click it, that's all I did there. Just double click And we're gonna name this, say you're doing an acoustic guitar, just AC guitar. All right. Now this is important because once you get to recording, all of the clips after they're recorded are gonna take after this name. So if you record, you don't change the name and it's still audio, all of your clips are going to be audio one, and it's a mess if you're trying to comp together anything or move clips around. So it's recommended to name it first off, just out of habit. Okay, so what we have down here, we have waveform. This is all editing stuff. This is how the clips are going to appear once they're here. So we're going to keep that at waveform for now. And this is for automation, so we're not going to worry about that. And for the input, you're going to select whichever input you have on the interface. And I have my microphone right now set up to input 1 because it's a 2-input interface. So I'm going to click input 1, and our output should be built-in output if you're working out of a computer with an interface. That's basically it. If you're wanting to do a click track, you're going to want to put in your tempo right here by double-clicking, which is what I just did. And say it's, I don't know, let's do 102 or something like that. Enter, and you see all the grid. That's this grid going into play. All these lines change to a tempo of 102. Let's see, what else do we got going? You're basically ready to record at this point. All of your settings are set up to record from your interface, and you're going to hear it back. So what I'm going to do is record enable, and you might be able to hear my voice coming through the interface now. So what I'm going to do is hit record enable. Alright, so now you can see that my voice is coming in through the track there. And I'm going to record enable here, which is the main record button. And after you click this record button, once you hit spacebar or play, everything from that point on is going to be recorded into this track. So I just hit spacebar there, and now you're going to see it's going to record whatever I'm talking into the mic with. So hit spacebar to quit recording, and now we have our first clip. So I'm going to deselect the record enable. You have successfully recorded something in Pro Tools 11 now. So you see this clip. I'm going to zoom in real quick, and that is command in the little left and right brackets. So I'm hitting the right bracket to zoom in, or you can do it from down here. Alright, so it's easy as that to get set up and record. I'm going to have all the editing stuff covered in future videos here, so stay tuned for those. We got a lot to cover when it comes to editing. So this is just a simple setup guide on how to start recording within a few minutes. So stay tuned with me for these editing videos, because I'm going to cover really in depth with Pro Tools. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.